It's Tuesday, and I'm going to start a pet portrait. This is my parents' dog, Gus. He's a cockapoo. You might have seen him in some of my previous videos if you recognize him. He is so sweet and such a menace, but this is my first time doing a pet portrait. I've never really painted an animal before. I tried once in a painting in high school. I think it was a deer or a horse. That painting is currently in the closet to be unseen, so that went really well, obviously. But today is going to be a control, day one. I'm going to sketch, paint a little bit, maybe in gouache or acrylic, I haven't decided. The final painting will be in oil. But it's going to be control because I'm not going to be looking up any tutorials or tips today. I just want to see where I'm starting without all of that. And then hopefully when I see the final painting, as if I'm not making it, well, when I make the final painting, I'll be able to compare where I started to where it ended. So hopefully there's an improvement. So yeah, I'm actually really excited. It's a little daunting having a new subject and something I'm not overly familiar with, but also really exciting. I just finished the thumbnail painting. Well, there are a few spots I didn't actually finish painting technically, but it's not going to be worked on anymore, so it's done. And the reason for that is two things. So for starters, I feel like I got what I wanted out of it. I know what I want to work on, and it actually did look better than I thought it would. I thought it looked more like him and it had more of an expression. So that was good. There was two things I didn't like. One of them really has nothing to do with the actual technique. Well, it is a technique problem, but it won't be because it's a medium issue that I'm having, which is I don't spend a lot of time with acrylic. In fact, I really haven't spent any time with acrylic for at least 5 years, I think. Usually I use oil, and this final portrait will also be in oil. And I'm used to it being very slippery and gliding, and so it's a lot easier for me to do those kind of details like a whisker or a hair or whatever. And I was really struggling with the acrylic. I could not figure out the right water ratio, and when I did figure out the water ratio and I'd go back to it, it had dried a little bit and it wasn't the right one anymore. And so some of them had way too much water and it kind of spread and the paint wasn't the right color and all that. And then most of the time it was too dry and it kind of looked like trying to draw hair with a crayon. I don't know, that's a user error, but I'm hoping that on a larger scale it won't be as much of an issue as it is on a small scale. And I think that is a technique thing, or I guess something I need to learn, is his fur, and specifically the color. So he is a black dog with white whiskers, or like white strands, and a little bit of red in his mustache. But when the light hits his fur, and there's like a highlight from that direction, it's not a warm tone highlight. It is more gray. But the thing about it is, because his whiskers are kind of warm toned, I want to just make all of him warm and then have the background be cool as like a further separation. And I'm not using black straight out of the tube because my black's kind of cool toned. So I was mixing blue, and I believe it was burnt umber. I could be wrong, but it was a brown. And for the darkest part of his fur in the painting, it worked out for like the shadows and such. But as I was lightening it up, you could really tell that it was brown, and that was really bothering me because that's just not what his fur looks like. So I need to figure out a way to balance both it being the right color and accurate, but also going with artistically not wanting to use straight up black if I don't have to. So I'm going to be searching around the internet for answers on that, and I'm excited to actually have help. Yeah, I think this is going to go well. I don't know when I'm actually going to start doing the final painting, but it's so interesting though how much more you notice when you're staring at something intently for something like a painting because you're trying to replicate it, is that there are details about his face that I hadn't really noticed before. And that's always really cool because then I know the next time I see Gus and I play with him and all that, I'll spot those in real life and not just in the picture. I don't know, that's something I think is really cool about art, and one of my favorite things is just what you notice and then kind of having that extra detail with you. I don't know, it's nice. So. I just finished my second practice round of the pet portrait and I made a few changes that I really liked. So for starters, for color, I did end up using a teeny bit of black, but I mostly used that brown-blue color mixture, and I thought it added a lot of depth, but yet the black also makes it so that it is accurate to him, so I'm really happy that I chose that. And when I was doing the color blocking, and then added the whiskers on top of it, I did add more of those individual hairs than in the other one because it's really small. But I'm really happy I did that, and also for the kind of red strands that he has, just keeping it to the individual brush strokes instead of having it in the color blocking, I thought added good detail and really makes him pop. And the other thing that I like, not to toot my own horn, is his eyes. I actually did not put a lot of effort into his eyes, but I feel that it ended up working out and kind of captures his expression. The one thing I don't love is the vest. The vest annoys me, and I know that it'll be a pretty easy thing to fix, so I'm not too worried about it when it comes to the final version. But on this, it does annoy me. This color, no, I don't like it. But overall, I am happy with it, and I'm super excited to get to the final. I'm going to work on a wood canvas, so I need to prep that. Just prime it, let it dry, prime it again, let it dry, you know the drill. And the other thing that I'm actually super excited about is I'm getting a new easel for this painting. And the reason is because I happen to like smaller canvases. It's not uncommon for me to paint on 3x3, and that is in inches, not in feet. And this one will be, I think, an 8x8. I would need to check the canvas to really know the measurement, but it's around that size. And my current easel allows the top to move to accommodate larger sizes, but the bottom doesn't move to accommodate smaller sizes, so I end up really hunched over, and that's just not great when you paint for a long time and you end up having back pain and the whole thing. So after searching the internet for quite a while, it took me a long time to find an easel with a bottom that would rise. I don't know why. Maybe other people don't like painting on smaller canvases, maybe that's just a personal preference, but I am hoping that it works out since there were not many options on the internet. Wow, that was a long one. Thank you so much for getting this far. I'm experimenting with having longer time lapses of me painting, so please let me know if you liked it. And if you liked this video, you might like some of the other ones that I already have up, so I'll have those on the screen if you want to check those out. And I hope you have a great week. Bye!